The biggest resource that we always need is people power. I mean, people are the most important part of it.
Hello. Good. How are you? So my name is Jizal Seikali, and this is Kamal's Community Garden. So actually, we initially were working on the mural in front of the tire shop, which came about during 2020, during the pandemic and Black Lives Matter. And there was a lot of businesses that were dealing with break-ins and fires. And we just wanted to show the community that we wanted to be a part of the community and help out as much as possible. So in 2020, I had reached out to Rally CLE and Building Hope in the City, and they helped me find a local artist to bring my vision to life and create the mural at the front of the building. So soon after that, I continued working with Rally CLE and Building Hope to figure out what to do with this community space, because during the mural, we used the space to do cookout and try to communicate to a lot of the locals. And then one thing led to the other, and I reached out to the city to hopefully acquire the space and fix it up so that it was a nice green area in the middle of this crazy city. Some of the businesses, parked their cars here because it was an empty lot. So we would end up finding a lot of empty bottle cans and knives and needles, and, people were just abusing the area. So the real focus was to turn it into a green space so that when kids are playing here, then they can feel safe and have a nice clean area to play. My family and I moved here in the 80s. My grandfather sponsored us and brought us here to the States. So part of sponsorship is being able to help the family find a place to live and work. And so my parents were both working factory jobs and noticed that there was a lot of tires laying around Cleveland. And so they actually started, my mom really was the one who actually started collecting the tires and helped resell them, because especially in this area, people can't necessarily afford new tires. So we offered new and used tires to the locals, and that's kind of how the business got started. And that was in the early 90s. So we officially opened in 91, I believe, which was just over 30 years ago. But since then, we've been a big part of the community. We were the first used tire shop in Cleveland, and now there's one on every corner. So they definitely started a trend. This is a very tight-knit community, and I think ultimately, as things are changing with Cleveland in Ohio City and all these wonderful new apartment buildings going up and them cleaning the city up, this is still a space that identifies with a lot of the culture and history of the city. So the Clark Fulton area is really a highlight of the Stockyard, square. And so being a part of that and just being able to highlight the diversity in the community and the Hispanic community and the Black community, and just really showing that as long as, we can come together and figure out how to create a safe space for everyone here, that we don't have to build brand new houses or throw a ton of money into, these things to make it nice. As long as we can take the time to fix up what we have, then hopefully, more people would want to do the same thing, kind of just start a trend, like I said. I wish there was a lot more activity here, but ultimately, this is still an area where there is a lot of traffic on the main road. I mean, Clark in 43rd is a pretty busy area. We used to have a bank across the street, but that recently shut down. So there's less traffic now. But hopefully, my idea of creating a garden and a picnic area was because growing up, every Sunday, my family and I would go to church, and then after church, we'd go to my grandfather's and have a barbecue every Sunday. And we'd go to the parks and we'd play volleyball. And growing up with about, 30 plus cousins, it was just a very fun experience to have as a child, growing up with so many great memories. And so I was hoping that this area, this park, would be a reason for some of these local communities to want to come out and get together and have barbecues and play games and do all those fun things that I got a chance to do as a kid. The first thing I did initially when I was reaching out to people for the mural was kind of figuring out what groups would be able to help me bring my idea to life. So groups like yours and Building Hope in the City and Rally CLE were really a big part of how I was able to create this space. And so they were able to connect me to people in the city. And even though we don't technically own this parcel, they allowed us to maintain it and build on it, so that way we can have a place where we're able to essentially not just use it for the city, but create more of a space that our customers can come and sit and wait while they're getting their cars done. And, you know, when there's kids in the car, obviously in the summertime it gets really hot, so they get to come out and play while the cars are being fixed. So it really works out that the city allowed us to do this, but acquiring property is a bit of a challenge, especially when someone still owns it. But as of right now, I just hope that we can continue to build the green spaces when and where possible. So that's kind of my next project, which I already mentioned to you on Denison. Just being able to have a say in what goes up in their community is very important, especially because this is a very industrial area. And so there are businesses up and down Clark, and throughout the residents, you notice that not a lot of the houses have been maintained. And so taking pride in your community is a big part of creating spaces like this, because when they see that people actually care and want to do things to make the city better, it'll hopefully motivate them to want to do the same. So maintaining it is a bit of a challenge. As I'd mentioned to you, there are still people who park their vehicles here at night and, you know, try to drive their car into the garden, which is why we created the little blocked area. But as far as maintaining it, my brother and my mom are typically the ones who are cutting the grass and maintaining the flowers and just trying to keep it looking nice for the area. So without them, I don't think it would look as nice as it does. But I encourage locals to come out and plant whatever they want. That's why we created these boxes with the pallets, so that people, if they wanted to, can grow fruits or vegetables and just give them a chance to be part of the garden as well. So it's not just for them, but, you know, a reason for them to come out and want to participate. I'm just grateful that I was able to connect to Morgan, and she told me every time she drives by, it just makes her really happy to see a space like this here. So being able to be a part of the conversation and have someone acknowledge the work that you put in is really meaningful to me, just because this isn't something I did for myself. Obviously, it's not like I'm hanging out here every day, you know, utilizing the space, but it's definitely something for me to feel proud of. And when I see kids playing here and I see the space being utilized, then it makes all the hard work worth it.
I'm doing well. How are you? Okay. Well, this garden is actually an extension of our child care center. We have a child care center, 5-star rated child care center here at Changing Lives Ministries. And one of the things we wanted to do was to have the children to experience planting seeds and then seeing those seeds grow, and then what it produced, and then being able to cook those products and see how it goes from seed to table. So that was how the garden started. But then the community got really involved in it. Volunteers came and helped us to really set things up. Also, we're in a partnership with YOU, And so those students come in the summer and they work in the garden as well. The garden has been active for about, I would say, 5 years. Yeah. This is a neighborhood that I've spent quite a bit of time in. I'm a retired educator, and so I taught at Glenville High School. And so knowing the children and what the challenges, some of the challenges that they experience when we were blessed with this building that's, you don't see it now, but it's right across the street, it became a great opportunity for us to give back to the community. We address food insecurity a lot here on a daily basis. We have lunches for children after school. During the summertime, we have breakfast and lunches available. Every month, the third Friday of every month, we have a mobile pantry that comes out, and we also have a food pantry. And then every Wednesday, we have organic produce that are here. So we do a lot with food insecurity. We also have a child care center, as I mentioned before. We also have a giving table that is outside where we are able to leave things on the table that people might need. And we found that our neighbors now leave things on the table that they are no longer using, and other neighbors can come by and get the things that they need. That's so subjective to say when it was its best, because right now it could be its best. It could be its best for those who are living here now. So I don't want to say that there was a time when it was better. I can just say that in this time, we're doing the best that we can to make it the best that it can be for the people that are here now. And I say that because I remember when I was in the second grade, and I lived at 5715 Linwood, down the way, off of Huff, and I attended John D. Rockefeller Elementary School. And my second grade teacher was talking about this really terrible place where things were ugly and there was a lot of not the best going on. And as a child, I was like, well, can we help these people? Who are these people? And she said, oh, it's here. So when I went home that day, I saw my neighborhood differently. I saw it the way she saw it. I saw the paper, and I saw the prostitutes, and I saw the pimps, and I saw all those things, and I learned nothing else in the second grade. Although I've gone on to get 4 doctoral degrees, so she didn't stop that. But to say when it was its best, when I was in the second grade, it was its best to me until she shattered that for me. So that's why I say it's subjective. Well, my brother attended Glenville High School. And so when he attended many eons ago, it was a pretty good time for him. And so we enjoyed coming to see the play they did, The Man of La Mancha. So I do remember that. So it was really great to see that production at the high school, because I feel that it was divinely led for me to be here. I looked at many places when I was looking to purchase a building, and this building was available. And at first I didn't even want to look at it because I had gotten so discouraged. And then this building was just available. I put in a bid for it, which was less than half of the asking price, and they accepted it. And then within less than a month, I had the keys. So I just feel it was divinely led. And this started actually as a child. My father was a pastor. Now I'm a pastor. My parents were heavily involved in community outreach. And as a child, I was like, I'm never going to do that. But of course, that's what I'm doing. Yeah. When you feel that you own something, really own something, and you can make a difference in it, then it gives you a sense of pride. I'm out here most days working, and people in the community come by and they help me do all the things that need to be done. The flowers, you can't see it on screen now, but the flowers that are around the gate on the outside was planted by the community. We just redesigned the garden, and that was done by people in the community, and it gives them a sense of pride. I don't have to lock the gate because people understand that this belongs to them, and we all are taking care of it. It takes time and it takes money. And when we first started this process, we were blessed with a grant from Neighbor Up, to get our garden started. And so that really was the catalyst for us to be sustainable. It gave us the start. And so time and money, volunteers. I think it's lack of knowledge of knowing knowing that the money is available, knowing how to apply for it, and not being intimidated by the process. So if you have someone that's gone through the process and is able to walk you through the process, and you can see that it is accessible to you, it is for you, and you can have it, I think it's just knowledge. We have a very small child care center, but like I said, we are 5-star rated. This summer, we're going to have a summer camp, and we have loads of fun. Well, when we first got here, it was the church and then the parking lot that was over there. And you really couldn't see the building when you turned the corner because there were vacant storefronts along this area over here. And each day I would come and I would pray and I would say, Lord, move this mountain, move this mountain. And one day when I came, it wasn't very long, maybe a month after, they were tearing down those storefronts. And so then after they tore them down, it was, like any property that's torn down. And we planted the grass. We had trees that were donated to us from the botanical gardens. And a lot of the flowers that you see were donated to us from people in the community. They, when they would weed out or, thin out their perennials, they'd bring them over. And so they're blooming along the fence and are over there. You can't see it, but they're purple and they're yellow and they're gorgeous. And these trees are apple trees, actually. So, yeah. Those are 4 apple trees. And we have a pine tree. We have pawpaw trees. Pawpaw. I think they're pawpaws. And that far tree over there, we had a parishioner who started a garden at Iowa Maple with Sarah and Food Strong. And he passed away. And so a tree was donated, and that is his tree. That's over there. That's Reggie over there. So, yeah, that's how this all came to be. Well, thanks so much for coming out to look at our garden. So that's it. We've enjoyed it. Oh, let me introduce our other guest. This is Mocha Latte. She has nothing to say. And this is Tawny Carre. She might have a little more, but they are with me each day and we work here together. So yeah, that's it.
Hi, Joe, how are you doing?
I'm doing well, thank you. The market actually started with farmers that used to sell out of the backs of their trucks during World War I. And they sold around East Cleveland and, found different vacant places to sell. And finally, I think the city said, hey, enough of this. You guys either need to find a spot to be permanent or get out of here. So they found this property, and it was about 1932, they started on this property. At first, they were just working on the property, and then, within a few years, they had built this market building. And it was a cooperative of farmers that basically sold, raised food and sold food here for many, many years, all the way up until actually the year 2000, when they finally could not sustain operation of the market. They didn't have enough farmers left in the co-op to sustain it, and the nonprofit was formed. I'm part of the nonprofit as well as a number of other volunteers, and our mission is to preserve the market and also offer a place where people can buy food at reasonable prices, and especially local foods, local vendors, local farmers. And it's all about helping the local economy, as well as giving people in this community access to fresh local food. I run into a lot of people that grew up in East Cleveland when times were better in East Cleveland. I mean, now they're dealing with a lot of the issues that other communities are, as far as vacant properties and vacant land, a decreased number of people in the population, and then overall poverty. But there was a time when East Cleveland was a very prosperous community, and this market was bustling. There's 2 acres of land across the street that was overflow parking, and there used to be a policeman directing traffic. So this place was really going gangbusters, and unfortunately it succumbed to a number of factors, the community's issues, as well as a transition away from farming too, from the smaller farmers to the big production farms. And we're getting somewhat of a revitalization of that now through urban farming. There are people that are regular shoppers that live in the neighborhood, and I'm not certain that everyone can take advantage of it. And we do as much community outreach as we can with limited resources, so that we can get the word out. And we have incentive programs like Produce Perks, where people can double their money. And compared to some of the other farmers markets, our prices are reasonable. So we especially look at our vendors, and we have very low cost vending space, like someone can get a stand for a $5 bill. And we want to engage the community and give them the opportunity to get whatever they can from their business. Well, in part, we could say, well, that's our mission, is to preserve this market. And we've been approached a number of times, like someone, when the Collinwood grocery store closed, the Dave's in Collinwood closed. People would say, yeah, why don't you come over here and start a market? And, when we talked to the city, they said, well, why don't you even have a market at the Windermere station? And it's not that simple. Number one, the vendors have to be receptive to moving around. And then you have to have the facilities. You need infrastructure for whatever you do. And we have everything we need here. We have stands. People don't have to bring tables or tents or anything. So we have the infrastructure in place. And we do have a loyal customer base too. Well, I think part of it is having pride in their community. If they have a say and have some ownership, they're going to, be more enthused about where they live. And the other issue you have to deal with is people that are not owners of property. Maybe they're renters and they may not care as much. But still, if they have the opportunity to have their input, I think everyone wants to have a say, and everyone wants to have a better place to live. So you asked about the space. We have all this space here, and at one point it was full of cars. We had 2 acres of parking across the street and all the space here. And when we finally recognized that we didn't need all that parking space, we said, well, what are we going to do with that space? Is it just going to be this abandoned mess? And that's when thoughts of a community garden came about. And there were some fits and starts. And finally, Gladys Walcott got the organization that was necessary to start a community garden. So half of that 2 acres of vacant land across the street is a community garden. But the other part of it is where we wanted to look at urban farming, because if we have an urban farmer on our site that can sell on our site, that's a way of giving the community access to additional food that's rightly convenient to the market. It's easy for that farmer to bring the food across the street and sell it. And we are looking at more and more ways to increase the supply of food, not only from farmers that come in from outside the city and other urban areas, but to actually utilize our site. So right now we have two urban farmers on the site, and then we have the nonprofit Food Strong, which is starting to raise food to sell at the market. And we're also in a program with Central State University to develop farmers. So a portion of that land across the street is like a prototype farm area for the farmers to learn how to raise crops, learn how to deal with the pests, deal with the animals, have the soil of the right quality. They're learning what they need to know so that they can, if they choose, become a part-time farmer or even a full-time farmer. And that's a program that's supported by the USDA, and there's no cost to the participants. So they have an opportunity. If they have a regular job, they can do this part-time. And it's a way to increase the supply of food. So we're trying to grow farmers. Another area we have is we acquired a couple of lots where we're developing a food forest. And we were approached by the Soil and Water District, and they said, hey, we have this opportunity to develop food forests in the area. Do you want to take advantage of it? Unfortunately, most of our land being on asphalt, it wasn't suitable for trees. So we were able to acquire two lots. Well, we acquired one lot, and the city gave us an easement for the other one. So we have nut trees planted there as well as berry bushes. And this year, with another grant from the Cuyahoga Arts Council, we're developing like background plants, like smaller trees and various bushes and plants that all can be either utilized as food or some other useful purpose. The biggest resource that we always need is people power. I mean, people are the most important part of it, because people, if you have people, they can find resources. And that's why being able to participate in the AmeriCorps program has been helpful, because we have people that can develop special programming and help us do things that we don't have the capacity to do. And in fact, the intent of it is to build capacity. And then there's obviously always a need for funds with infrastructure as old as we have. So we continue to apply for small grants so that we can make improvements. Like last year, we were able to paint the ceiling of the pavilion with a grant from the Fraley Foundation. I think that's how the pronunciation is. And so we're looking at ways to continually improve the property. And this year we have a construction grant from the sewer district to put permeable pavement on the site to remediate some of our stormwater. So, and that's phase one of the project. Phase two will be the other half of the parking lot. So we're, looking forward to that coming to coming to pass. Also, we're hoping to do something with our fence line too. We think a chain link fence is not as inviting, so we're going to try to look at alternative designs for fencing that where it's not easy to dump on the property, but you can still have a welcoming site. I would say the thing that I would like to talk about most is how we can better involve and engage the community. It's always a challenge. I mean, we have people that'll volunteer occasionally, but getting people to take ownership of this market as it's their market and be able to make a contribution and be part of the community and make the market more part of the community. I think that's something we strive for, and we hope to do that more productively. I would say that when you say what advice could I give to someone that wants to do something like a farmer's market, I think it has to be, number one, grassroots as possible. In other words, engaging the people and say, what do you want to see? What do you want? And then also think about having impact. It's easy to do something that, well, I'm doing it, but you're not necessarily having impact. If you can impact people's lives, or to give you an example, local food is still not having a huge impact. It's a very small percentage of the food that's offered. And if we can find ways to raise that so it has a greater economic impact on the community, as well as being able to feed more people, I think that would be, a fantastic achievement. So I'd say a combination of grassroots and then thinking about how are we going to have impact? How are we going to help change either people's lives or their access to food or whatever they need to have a better life.